Sharpening images is really important, but in today's day, where the camera and the lenses are really good out of the box, sharpening is not this big of a deal anymore. But if you know what to do, then sharpening is really an additional ingredient how you can add the bonus to your images, because they are looking better on screen, they are looking better on print. In Lightroom, you can go to the develop model and over there down to the details tool. I close anything else. And now you see I'm here inside the sharpening. Before you are sharpening your images, it's a good idea to see on what ISO settings you have worked with the photos. In this case, I think the ISO is not this big of a deal because I was outside all the time and worked with a flash, but let's check anyways. So I go in the library back to the grid and to the metadata, and there you can go on the first column where there stands date in the classical or in the standard setting, and there you go to ISO speed. And as mentioned before, here you see I have the ISO from 250 of all of my images, 113 images with the same ISO. If you do a reportage or if you do a wedding, then your ISO will vary depending on the lighting situation you have worked with. And then it's good to work with lighting groups or with ISO groups. In this case, right now, that's not, I don't have to do this because I had the same ISO setting for the whole shooting. So what I will do is Command A, select all images, and here in the develop module, I switch from sync to auto sync, so all my settings get applied to all of the images. So I zoom in and I have a good basic setting over here, and when I change the luminance slider and the noise, you see for 113 photos this noise reduction gets applied. Okay, and now we have the sharpening over here, and sharpening has 4 sliders: amount, radius, detail and masking. And to better demonstrate it, I will take an image like this one. Let's see if that's a good one. Yeah, that's cool. And with the B key, I throw it in the quick collection. And then I will take a portrait like this one, also with B, and throw it also in the quick collection. So now with these 2 images, I can go back to the develop model and go down there to the detail tool as well. And then you see the amount, the radius, the detail and the masking. And right now they are the same for these 2 images. But these 2 images are really different, because on the left side I have a portraiture, and the portrait is really another way to sharpening than a landscape or an architecture photo, or like this, a photo on some structures. But it's not the perfect example, but let's see it. The right one is more the landscape image, the left one is a classical portrait. Okay, what to do with the portrait? Or let's start with the more or less landscape photo. So I go to the develop model, and here I want to emphasize all the small structures on the stones, here inside the weed and inside the person. And so I go up with the details and zoom in, so I have a 100% view of my image, and hold down the Option key while I'm turning the sliders. So I want now to emphasize all the small details. And when I go with the radius, I want to go to the left, so I have a small radius, so I can emphasize all the small details and all the small structures over here. With the amount slider, I can say that I want to have the edges on the lighter side lighter, and on the smaller side smaller, or darker, not smaller. On the darker side darker. Because sharpening inside the software is nothing else than the way to emphasize the illusion of the sharpening. And the illusion is On edges, you know that something is sharp if the edge goes from light to dark in a really, really abrupt way. So it's not like here you have a, let's see, like this. You have a small or a slow way from not so dark to a little bit lighter and so on. But the pin over there, that's really, really sharp, because from light to dark, it's a really abrupt way to change. And this is sharpening, where from one color to another, you have a really aggressive shift in tones, in color tones. So from dark to light, really, really fast, then you know they are sharp. And inside the software, you want to work with these settings. So here I have all the small settings now with the amount slider emphasized. But the problem is that regions where you have the similar colors will also get emphasized with the details. And here with the masking and the white mask, I hold down the Option key, you have the sharpening on the whole image. But when I go to the right a little bit, then you see everywhere where it's white, you have the sharpening, and everywhere where it's black, you don't have sharpening. And now I want to go to the right so that really nice regions like here in the back and surfaces like the sky, for example, in this image I don't have a sky, won't get sharpened, and there the noise won't get emphasized like this. Okay, and let's do it in a really clinical way, like this curve. So a big amount of sharpening, a small amount of the radius, a big amount of details, and a small amount of masking. I do it like this so you see it better. So this is a high frequency sharpening because you have a lot of changes from one pixel to the next one, and you want to sharpen all the small details over here. If you have a portrait, then you don't want to sharpen all the small details. And then you have to go the other way. You do a low frequency sharpening. And you start with the details. So no details at all. The radius should be big because you want to sharpen, or you want to go to the big forms and to the big changes. The amount could be a little bit lower. And with the masking, you go up till you just sharpening all the forms and all the structures of the image. So this is a low frequency sharpening. So a small amount, a big radius, small details, and a big masking. And when I switch from a low frequency sharpening to a high frequency sharpening, you see that the sliders are exactly the opposite. So this is high frequency, where I want all the small details to get sharper. And this over here is a low frequency, where I just want to have the form and the structure of the image get emphasized. And so I have a lower amount, a big radius, low on the details, and a big masking. And it always depends on the size of your image, the megapixel. It always depends on how big the image crucial parts are inside your image, because in this way, or in this case, you have a big portrait, the face is really, really big, and you want to emphasize all the forms and the body shapes. When I go to the library or to the folder, I go to the G, right click, folder and library, and just take another image like this over here and go to the, or let's say like this, where I see the face. Then the face is really small, and then you have to apply and to dial in other details for the sharpening. So in this case, I will add this to the quick collection. Go here over to the quick collection, go to this image, just copy these settings via this button, or I can also go to Command, Shift and C. And now I check none and just go in and take the sharpening. And I can also take the luminance noise reduction. Copy this, go to this image, paste it as a starting point, but then I can go in and just tweak the image a little bit more because this image or the face to work with is smaller. So let's say like this. And then I can go through the image. In general, in a shooting like I did it here, I would go with a more global way of thinking. So I just go through all the images and see if they have some similarities. In that case, they are more or less the same. So I would sharpen the images together, and I will just copy the image settings from the low frequency image and paste it to all of the other images. So I will go over here. Command-Shift-C is the shortcut. Just copy the details, copy. Command-A, so all the images are selected, and now Command-Shift-V to paste the settings. And now I have the same settings as on this image for all of my images, because in this case I would say these are all more or less the same style of images, and so the same style for sharpening. In this case, a low frequency sharpening.